You're watching the Art of Save Scumming, and today we've got another one of our Warhammer 3 Basics videos. And this one, we're going to be covering the Art of Expansion. So everybody knows that you start a new campaign, you've got a very limited field of view, and that this is a Eatane campaign, so you start basically laser focused on this region right here. But if you look up here in the mini-map, and it's turn 52, I've branched out substantially from there, but I'm just about to begin my steamroll, which is the point at which I'm going to uninhibitedly expand throughout the map. I did not get there until about 2 or 3 turns ago on this campaign. I would not have considered any of that. And there are several mechanics that work into that for every faction, and there's a few mechanics that certain factions use. For instance, if we go back to Warhammer 2, the High Elves, represented here, had a mechanic where you could see inside friendly lands if you had a trade agreement with them. Now you can no longer do that. You can no longer see the individual actions inside of the lands of your trade partners, but you still discover those lands. And that can lead you to discover people that perhaps you don't want to discover at that time. So particularly when it comes to like the High Elves, they've got a lot of coastline to defend. Luckily for them, this whole side is filled with many allies until about now. You can see that Grom's on his way down, and we've got some war going on with the Barrow Legion here, but Corone is still strong, and they're still defending the territory. We are getting some Skaven in the form of Clan Scryer moving up through here, and I think Morger is still alive, I would say, so he's probably going to start coming up in this region too. So this area for the High Elves, for instance, is not one that we have to worry about too much defending until about now. There might be a few incursions, but for the most part, if you got any garrison buildings built in those regions, you can pop up a small army to do the defense of the of those port cities. This side, on the other hand, is a little bit more iffy. There's a fair amount of stuff that goes on over here in the early campaign that you want to be careful about when you do diplomacy with factions over here, like the Sisters of Twilight, for instance, because they can lead you to discover prematurely Morathi, and if you prematurely discover Hexawaddle, then they can declare war on you. But if we go in here, for instance, and look at our relations with Hexawaddle, they're on the way down, but they're not like on the way down, right? They're stable. I'm going to call them relatively stable right now. So there's not a whole lot of danger of them declaring war on us. Defensive alliances do allow you to see inside your friends' regions, and because of that, you should be wary of when you establish defensive and military alliances, because anybody who borders them, you will then discover and have the potential of going to war with them. So you can see in this campaign, for instance, that I have gone all the way as far as making friends with most of the Empire. And I don't really care at this point in time, because anybody they discover, like for instance Sylvania, if they decide they want to pick a fight with me, they've got to come all the way over here. Not really worried about that. I've even started to make friends with some of the Cathayan factions that have been sending convoys over through the Empire. And probably we're going to have some Chaos Dwarfs start to send some convoys up through there and through Norska as I expand through there. So we have to keep in mind that here pretty soon, I'm probably also going to have some problems with the Chaos Dwarves. And you might be like, well, who cares? The Chaos Dwarves are way far away. Well, first and foremost, I have this campaign specifically set to the endgame crisis for the Chaos Dwarves and the Chaos Dwarves only. So if I discover them and I'm at war with them, that can be a bad thing. And then 2, by having strong factions pile on your war roster, it can cause some of the smaller factions that are located in your other regions or adjacent to your other regions to be like, hey, you know what? They're embroiled in a whole lot of war right now. We can probably do some damage to them. So then you get piled on. This is especially true in the early stages of the campaign, and this is why, and I suppose probably because I'm a Skaven player predominantly, that I advocate that you stay as small as you can, as long as you can, while simultaneously being as aggressive as you can. So now that may not fit everybody's play style, but those may seem opposed to each other, but they're not. So I would say, for instance, if you were playing this High Elf campaign, which the High Elves have a very strong military, so you shouldn't really shy away too much, but you can get yourself into some serious trouble if you're not paying attention to what you're doing in a High Elf campaign. I would say that a really good goal is to consolidate the whole donut as fast as possible. Now, you can do some of that with war, as I've done here with Safari and Calidor, but you can get a lot of confederations with the High Elves still, even in Warhammer 3. I know there was a bit of time where that was pretty hard to do, but now it's not all that bad. I would say that aiming for consolidation of the whole Holy Donut is a aggressive move for the High Elves, while simultaneously not venturing a lot over into some of these other territories. Like, for instance, I think it would be a poor move to conquer this territory over here, and I just took this territory because Marathi declared war on me, so I wiped her out. It would be a very poor move to then come down here, hop in this sea lane over here, or continue to move down into this region, into Lustria, and get embroiled in a bunch of conflict down here because I'm not ready for war with a whole bunch of Lizardmen factions and more Dark Elves and a whole bunch of Skaven. That's just not a good move. Simultaneously, I would also say that currently I am fighting. I just initiated war with Malekith because there was a whole bunch of armies kind of like separated here, and he was kind of having a hard time with Valkia. So I was able to individually annihilate like 4 armies in a single turn, destroying his military. So that was the reason that I did that when I did that. It was still probably not a good move to declare war on him if I was a beginner player, because he's going to be able to out-recruit me in the region and have higher quality units because I'm right on his doorstep. Right now, being in that conflict, simultaneously with a conflict with Bellicor over here, it would be an exceptionally poor move to start attacking the Skaven, for instance. If I decided to launch an attack over here to take out Morgur and the Skaven, I'd probably get my butt kicked, simply because even though I have access to my tier 5 units at this point in time through Lawthorn, or will have them in 5 turns, I suppose, it's in my best interest to not dabble over here and let them come to me while I finish those conflicts. So I am trying to stay out of all of these regions as long as I can while I finish those wars. And that is the key to balancing your expansion versus your defense of the lands that you currently hold. So once you've commit the resources to starting to expand a region, you don't want to have to lose it and then take it again. That's the whole premise behind that. So stay as strong as you can, stay as small as you can, as long as you can, and be hyper aggressive whenever the opportunities present themselves for mass takeovers. Anyway, that's my dissertation on the art of expansion from the Art of Save Scumming. Thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you on a future video. Like, share, subscribe.